But if I'm a Lions fan, I have to think to myself, damn, it is awesome to be a Detroit Lions fan. Just the way they go about winning, the way they understand their situation. Whenever you hear MCDC talk after the game about the defense, man, and how he knew what the offense was going to have to do, but he understood the situation and the reality of the injuries on the defensive side, the way Aaron Glenn cooked up pressure on Jordan Love, the way they just went about winning that game and going for it on fourth down, obviously big topic of conversation. That pass right there should be the big topic of conversation, to be clear. They did that like 7 times, right? The same play, seemingly, right there to the Green Bay Packers defense. And I don't know if that's just a Lions specialty, but that felt like that was happening all night long during the big plays. But speaking of big plays, big old gut sack, okay, that's with a G, on MCDC doing what he did. He goes for it on fourth down, obviously gives up a touchdown because he's deep in his own end. Everybody thinks this guy's a dipshit. He's not going to be able to do it. Then, when the game is tied, let's win this thing. 30-some seconds left, 4th and a half. A yard. And they call timeout, let the clock run all the way down, called timeout. Jared Goff runs over to the sideline, and he literally asks for a ball to throw it. So I'm like, wait, is he selling that they're still going for this? Is he trying to? No way they are going to go for this. Why would you even risk a bobbled snap? Why would you even risk your quarterback getting tripped on way back? Why would you even do any of that? And I think it's 100% because MCDC told the boys, hey, our defense can't stop Jordan Love. We kick a field goal right here, they're going to kick a field goal. We're going into overtime. If we get half a damn yard, this game is over. And the celebration by the Lions and the offensive linemen after they pick it up and the strain from Jared Goff to get the handoff, the boys knew. The boys knew. We just won the game. Offensive linemen started jumping up and down doing this one right here. It's like MCDC's got them all going in the same exact direction. They all believe in every decision that he makes. And although I don't know if they're going to be able to win all the games that they have to playing the way they did last night, especially against a Packers team that could have beat them a couple different times, I assume, is what Packers fans are going to say. I'll wait to hear from your end on that whole thing. But it's like the Detroit Lions win football games. And it feels like they knew this is how they were going to have to win this one. And Skip puking all over the place in the locker room afterwards. Yep. MCDC giving shout-outs everywhere. It's like, life is good as a Lions fan. I don't know if you're able to go with all the injuries still, like all, but the fact that they win that game, it's like well coached, great culture, buy-in, intelligence, like everything that you need for a good team, let alone grit, AJ. So that's my big takeaway. Like, what a win by the Lions.
Yeah, I mean, people love to argue and I guess give their opinion on what the going for it on fourth down and what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what the analytics tell you. I feel like Dan Campbell, I don't know, you guys can let me know if I'm wrong here. I sense like he kind of takes all the analytics into question, but he also takes in the moment. He trusts his instincts, and he even said after the game a little bit. First off, I got to sidebar, Jared Goff, unbelievable play here. He gets his foot stepped on. Still able to do this and not fumble the ball. Because imagine if he does fumble that ball and the ball goes bouncing around the room and stops him. Yeah, something like that happens. What does Dan Campbell look like then? Like, then people have a completely different situation.
If that hits Buddy's elbow, Knuckles, if that hits Knuckles' elbow and goes down, scoop and score, 11-2 or whatever, they would be calling for MCDC's head. I mean, it would be, this guy's the dumbest. This guy, we know that they've won and everything. Everybody would be saying it. But instead, his players showed up for him, which is exactly why he does what he does. And it can certainly go the other way. But for some reason, when MCDC's leading the way, it always seems to go their way. Now, speaking of not going their way, let's go to the toxic table. Obviously, at Boston Corner. Good to see you, pal. You look fantastic.
Good to see you, too. Great jacket there.
Sco, Docs. Thank you. Yeah, neutral site game. Didn't get any swag. So, yeah, didn't pack good either. Yeah.
Sure.
But, yeah, the body, if I would have taken this and had to think, the redness, my whole body will blend in with seats.
Yeah,
so,
part of them, yeah.
So it's a little bit of an issue. Yeah, a little bit of an issue there. But at Ty Schmidt right there next to Con Man, I heard the refs were the reason why. What happened here? There was a lot of comments on our Instagram posts from the game last night. My post this morning, whenever, we get to see MCDC talk about Skip puking all over the place. The refs were the reason, I heard. Is that real? And what did I miss? There was a push-off, I guess. And what was it, Ty?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that going around right now, which is bullshit. I hate that. Anytime that's the first thing you lean to, like, you can't do that. Can't be doing that in an NFL game. Obviously, the refs aren't perfect. You're going to miss calls. But, yeah, there was the St. Brown catch that we just showed there that brought up the 4th down before the field goal. A lot of people saying he pushed off there. But then cherry picking and going back to, Jordan Love, getting hit in the head, or the touchdown that the Packers scored late that they took off the board for the pick by Christian Watson. A lot of people saying, hey, the Lions ran the same play earlier. Sam Laporta, does a pick for I can't remember if it was Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery on a screen pass, but he gets loose and gets a first down. So a lot of that kind of stuff. But like I told you, the Lions were 4 or 5 on 4th down. It's as simple as that. Like, they tried to, I don't want to say they tried to give the game away, but the Packers had ample opportunities. And I think last night just kind of proved to me that Packers are good. I'm not worried about them in any stretch of the imagination. They're going to make the playoffs. I still feel very confident that they're going to win a playoff game, but I think they are still just kind of a class right below the Lions and the Eagles. A lot of people forget that this is the youngest offense in the NFL. They have a young defense too, so I think a couple years from now we'll really see this Packers team, more mature and see what they really can be. But every single time the Lions need to rise to the occasion, they do, especially against the Packers this year. They've scored 6 touchdowns. 4 of those touchdowns have been on 4th down. So, it's one of those things where you can blame the refs. You can point at the decision-making early on. The Packers kind of sleptwalked through the first 2 quarters of this game, which you can't do against a team like the Lions. So really all they can kind of blame is themselves, because when the Lions need a play, when they need a big moment, they have risen to the occasion every single time. And even early on, that's all we talked about yesterday. They're so banged up. Their front 7. First play of the game, they sack Jordan Love and kind of throw everything off. Matt LaFleur is so good with his, first 15, his scripted play. Like, the Lions are up 10-0 in a blink of an eye, and that kind of changes everything, because then they don't get Josh Jacobs involved as much. Jordan Love has to throw. He was awful in the first half. So it's one of those things where I think you mentioned it, like the culture, the toughness, the coaching. The Lions are just really good. They're just a really good team. They're arguably the best team in the NFL. And the Packers, I have a feeling, they're going to circle this one for a long time and kind of rue all the mistakes they made. But again, they're 9-4. They're probably going to the playoffs. So I think you take that more so than, hey, we kind of blew this game in Detroit when we probably should have won it.
Ty, I think that's a wonderful way to view it, and I'm joined now, ladies and gentlemen, by the GOAT.
All right, Coach.
Nick Saban.
Yeah, Coach.
Coach, we were just talking about the Lions game last. First of all, welcome home, the SEC championship. You know what I'm saying?
Oh!
All right. So, but anyways, before we get to that, we're wrapping up this conversation. I don't know if you got to see the entire game last night. Motor City Dan Campbell, the head coach of the Lions, he goes for it on 4th down all the time. It's like his thing. But his team normally gets it. Last night there was a situation. He goes for it on 4th. He gives the ball to Jordan Love in field goal range, definitely scoring position for sure. Then he goes at the very end of the game. He is in field goal range, scores tied, less than a minute left, okay?
Right.
Less than a minute left, right here. 4th and inches, in field goal range. They got a great kicker. He's made these kicks in this situation. 43 seconds left. Packers out of timeouts. He decides to go for it on 4th and inches, and his team picks it up for him. And that's obviously, I think, a calling card for his team. How did you go about making the decisions? Is it a lot in the moment? Do you have a preconceived idea of what you want to do in these situations? How do you make those types of decisions?
Well, I always thought if we had 1 yard or less, and I believed in our players, and I think Dan Campbell was showing that he believes in his players, that they're going to make a half a yard, whatever, in that situation. And I do agree with the analysis that if they kick a field goal with 43 seconds left, that Green Bay goes down the field and maybe they kick a field goal, score a touchdown. So you give them an opportunity to win the game. I always felt like if you can win the game on offense, do it. If you can win the game on offense, 3rd and 5, and you got to throw it at the end of the game to make a first down, to keep the ball so the other team doesn't get it back.
Yep.
Because most of the games that I played conservative in when I first became a head coach, we always lost, giving the other team a chance. All right, because we were conservative. We're going to give them the ball and stop them on defense.
Make the right decision, though. We're going to run the ball up the middle for 2 yards. They're going to use their timeout. We're going to do this, and then we're going to punt, and we're going to give them a minute 10 with no timeouts left. That's by a book. You can cover your ass and say that's the right decision. We wasted their timeouts. We did that whole thing. But if your team can end the game, if you get a first down, and a lot of people don't know this. Obviously, this was different. But if you get a first down with the other team with no timeouts, 2-minute warning or lower, game over.
Game over.
That is kneel out, game time. So a lot of those decisions made around then are obviously.
But I think fundamental execution is important, and I love Jared Goff. But his footwork coming out from under the center there. I mean, everybody says he made a great play, but with better footwork, he wouldn't have to.
Jared Goff has been unbelievable.
I love the guy, man.
And I like that he put himself maybe in a situation to strain a little bit. Let's make it a little bit more exciting for the people. Speaking of exciting for the people, do you know their head coach at all, Dan Campbell?
I don't, but we have, 4 or 5 players on that team So I watch that team a lot because I really try to pay attention to our guys in the NFL. People always ask me what team you like. I like the team that our guys play on and see how they're doing.
Arnold, big dog for them up there, too. I mean, what an absolute beast quickly for them. The way he goes about getting his team to follow a message, he's like 275, 282, absolutely yoked and jacked. But you can tell he's like a teacher. I think that's like a big quality. It doesn't matter how you deliver the message, but if you want to teach and lead, I think it gets home with players. Being who you are matters more, I think, than anything else. And he got murdered for it early. In his opening press conference, he said he was going to gnaw kneecaps. Then he wore he cried during their first win, like he showed emotion. And every metaphor he gave was just like one that looks like or sounds like it's from a guy who smokes. How many boys? You think 2 packs a day?
2,
Yeah,
3,
at least.
2.5, 4 on
3,
long
maybe
days.
3 packs a day.
Marlboro
so he got
Reds.
murdered by a lot of
Yep.
the heavy ones.
That's right.
And he's got America's best too. I think he's got
yeah.
America's best.
Oh,
yeah.
He's got that old school America's best back in the day. He does all that, so he got murdered, but his team's kind of stuck with him. Do you think coaches? Obviously they can. Why do you think coaches can come in all different forms?
Well, but I like the way Dan Campbell comes across. First of all, he's tough, builds toughness in his team, which I think is very important in terms of your culture. But you mentioned something, and he's a teacher. And, there's 3 different things that I always talked about in teaching. You're going to teach a guy what to do. Can you teach him how to do it with good teaching progression? And then if the guy can understand why it's important to do it that way, he's going to have a much better buy-in to doing it the way you want him to do it. And I think good teachers do that. And I think there's a lot of coaches out there that just tell guys they think their job is tell them what to do. They don't really tell them how to do it.
Or
They don't even tell them why it's important to do it that way. But when you can tell a guy, this footwork will help you play better in guarding a guy or covering a guy or whatever it is. And if you offhand jam them, that'll help you play better. If you use this footwork as an offensive lineman, you're going to have a better chance of being successful, on the zone play. I think that's what the Detroit Lions do very, very well. They got good players, but they do a really good job of coaching them.
yeah, great coaching, especially on that defensive side. AJ, how about Aaron Glenn, Kelvin Shepard, and the boys? Did you hear the report coming out of halftime? I think for Kaylee Hartung said that Kelvin Shepard, former teammate of mine, dog by the way, beloved. You're talking about an energy guy, beloved. Happy he's in coaching. I guess he was chewing out the linebackers on the field. I don't want to see one more missed assignment, not one more. And it's like, obviously they give up a bunch of points on the other side, but they were coaching their asses off up there in Detroit to get these wins, AJ.
Yeah, that's all. I would want to ask Coach that. How do you find like a balance? Say you're a defensive coach, defensive coordinator, like the fine balance to where, yes, we have enough in this game plan where we can come after and we can blitz and we have enough coverages, but also I don't want to overload my guys. I want them to play free, play fast, because we know the best defenses are always running fast and kind of playing on instincts.
And also, a couple guys just signed this week on the defensive side. Like they just signed them like 3 days ago, 4 days ago.
Yeah, well, we had that once when I was in Cleveland with Bill Belichick at the Browns. We're going to play the Houston Oilers, and they're running a run and shoot with Warren Moon at quarterback, and we have to pick up 2 corners off the street. So we had like 3 or 4 defensive calls, 2 coverages, 1 pressure, 1 blitz. That was it. Now, we went and executed well enough to have a chance to win the game, but I think it's all relative to what your players can handle. But my theory as a coach was I was always a whole coach. In other words, I wanted to throw as much shit on the wall as I could throw on and see what stuck. Then what didn't stick, put it back in the bucket and throw it up there again until it all stuck. So I really wanted our players to have a capacity.
Whole part. Oh, you think that's it?
Whole.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
The whole bucket of shit's got to end up on the wall. All right, so
Learn it. This is what we're doing.
But I think what that does, AJ, to your point, is your players have capacity to A, adjust, and they also have a better capacity to handle more multiples of things without screwing it up, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
When you teach simplicity, then people become simple-minded, and then they can adjust, and they can't do multiple things without making mistakes. And we used to put so much stuff in, like in fall camp, and guys looking at me like, why are we putting this in? Well, we're putting it in to see if you can learn it. All right, we might not use it till the 9th game of the season, but we're going to put it in today anyway. So, but I wanted to develop that in the players, and I think that's probably what Aaron Glenn's trying to get across to his guys. Now, when you pick up some guys off the street and they got to be out there playing, they didn't have the opportunity to go through that. You better simplify it for them.
What was and it seemed like they weren't. They were bringing pressure. They were sending it. Hey, Aaron Glenn was sending it last night. Obviously, that stat that NFL Plus Premium NFL Pro gave yesterday was the Lions, how much they were blitzing and adding a person to pressure, and then how Jordan Love has done against them in the past. Jordan Love was not good against pressure in the past. I felt like they brought a lot last night, but that could be because they were on 4th, 5th stringers.